Canadians know this is a question of right or wrong. Canadians know that, yes, it is incredibly hard for Ukraine to continue to stand against Russian aggression. And let's be honest, it's hard for the democracies around the world who are there to support their citizens, who are investing for the future, who are challenged with a challenging economy around the world, to continue to step up as Canada has with close to $9 billion in aid for Ukraine. But we will, because the cost on Canadians, on our lives, on our world will be so much greater if Putin wins this war, that we will and have to stand every single day until Ukraine wins this war.
This is my video update from Nicosia, Cyprus on this Sunday afternoon, September the 24th. Let's talk about some news. And let's talk about Trudeau, Zelensky's trip to Canada. Trudeau losing his freaking mind during that speech. And Trudeau, man, boy, oh boy, $9 billion, huh? That's how much Canada has spent. $9 billion on Project Zelensky. And did I hear Trudeau right? Did he say that it's going to cost Canada a whole lot more than $9 billion if Russia wins? Is that what Trudeau said? Because I've got news for Trudeau. Russia's going to win. Russia's winning and Russia's going to win. So what exactly is going to be the final bill for Project Ukraine? Trudeau. What a crazy, crazy speech from Justin. You know, Justin was really excited to have Trudeau, to have Zelensky in Canada. I mean, he was really, really excited. He's panicking. He's panicking because he's got a whole lot of problems. He's pissed off. Well, he's pissed off Canadians. He's pissed off Chinese with the whole Huawei thing. He's pissed off the Russians, obviously. Now he's making an enemy of India. The only thing that's left for Trudeau is Brazil and South Africa, and he's got a BRICS royal flush. That's all that he needs to do. That's all that's missing is angering Brazil and South Africa. I'm sure Trudeau will find a way to do that. I'm positive of it. But yeah, he's in panic mode. That speech was desperation. That speech was real desperation. You could see that Trudeau was losing it. Trudeau lost his stoicism. You know, Trudeau was always a very stoic, pragmatic, intelligent leader. And he lost it during that speech. I'm joking. There's nothing stoic about Trudeau. There never was, there never will be. The guy's all emotion. He's all heart. He's all heart, baby. Oh, boy. Well, at least he signed a trade deal with Ukraine. So he's pissed off the entire global south. No one likes the guy. India's mad at him. China's mad at him. Russia's mad at him. Everyone's mad at him. I think even some collective West leaders are upset with him. But at least he signed a free trade deal with the economic powerhouse that is Ukraine. Oh, man. And then Trudeau was talking about getting his hands on the $300 billion in Russian frozen assets. Good luck with that, Trudeau. But he was excited, very excited to be with his pal Zelensky. You could tell he was very happy to be with another fellow thespian, another fellow actor. You know, that's why Trudeau was taking all these selfies with Zelensky, and that's why they made a whole bunch of TikTok, Instagram, video shorts. You know, Zelensky, he wanted to show, Trudeau wanted to show off to Zelensky. He wanted to show off his acting skills. Let's see here. Volodymyr, let's make a TikTok video. Let me show you some of my acting skills. I used to be a drama teacher. Trudeau, with all respect, drama teacher is not actor. I'm an actor. I have hit TV show in Ukraine with Kolomoisky. Now I put Kolomoisky in prison, but I have hit television show. I was given Oscar by Sean Penn. I'm an actor. Trudeau, you're a teacher, drama teacher. Oh wow, Volodymyr. Sean Penn gave you an Oscar? Wow. He's my favorite actor. I loved him in The Godfather. Trudeau, you idiot. The Godfather was Robert De Niro. Sean Penn, he made this movie about high school, Richmond High School or something, and his character's name was Spacola or Spinach. I don't know. That was Sean Penn. Godfather, Robert De Niro. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, so they made a video selfie together, and Trudeau was talking about as long as it takes. He still has that line. He's still reading that script, as long as it takes. Trudeau and Baerbock, they're still stuck on as long as it takes. The new line is long war, Trudeau. Long war, not as long as it takes. Long war. Can someone send Trudeau the script, please? Maybe it's because of the script writers' strike. They haven't been able to get Trudeau or Baerbock an updated script. But yeah, as long as it takes. That was what Trudeau was saying. Oh boy! So while the Parliament in Canada was clapping, standing ovation for Zelensky, a standing ovation for another interesting character who I will talk about in my clown world. On the streets of Canada, the citizens were very unhappy to see Zelensky with Trudeau in Canada, and they were actually protesting outside of, I believe the hotel is the Royal. Give me one sec. The Royal York Hotel. They were protesting Zelensky and Trudeau's presence, and they were saying, F you, get out of our country. Now, when they say get out of our country, were the protesters in Canada talking about Zelensky or talking about Trudeau? Or both? Oh, man. So, that was Trudeau in Canada, everybody. And Trudeau, Canada, Zelensky. And Zelensky was, I'm sure he was feeling good about his trip to Canada, because his trip to the United States did not go over too well. He didn't get the $24 billion, not yet. He didn't get the ATACMS. Biden is promising him the ATACMS, but then Jake Sullivan came out and said no ATACMS. So no one really knows what is going on. I think they've given him some ATACMS, and those ATACMS are probably already in Ukraine or on their way there. And we're just getting all kinds of mixed messages from the Biden White House. But no ATACMS. Then Biden said, we'll give you some ATACMS, like 100 ATACMS with cluster missiles. And then Sullivan came out and he said no ATACMS. So who knows what's going on? But it was a pretty bad result for Zelensky. So he was happy to be in Canada. But one thing did happen as Zelensky left the United States, and that is that McCarthy, the House Speaker, did decide to give Zelensky $300 million. $300 million is what he decided to give Ukraine in an aid package that I think the House has passed or will pass. So Zelensky left the U.S. with around 325 million in weapons. No one really knows what's going to happen with the ATACMS. Oh, Abram tanks. They're going to be heading to Ukraine in 2 to 3 weeks. And he got the news that McCarthy will give him 300 million. When Zelensky was in Congress and he was meeting Schumer and McConnell, Schumer bowed to Zelensky as he shook Zelensky's hand. Oh, man. Jeez, these guys. All right, so we leave the clown world for a bit. We'll return to the clown world, and let's talk about Lavrov and Lavrov's UN speech and his press conference at the United Nations. And everyone, I mean all the press, everybody wanted to speak with Lavrov towards the end of the press conference. Even Zakharova joked around with the media, and she's like, "We have to end this press conference now because we have to leave. We have to leave like your isolation, and we have to go into our own isolation." She said something like that. I forgot what exactly she said, but she was poking around at the Russia is isolated narrative because everybody was in the room to listen to Lavrov and to give Lavrov some questions. So Russia is anything but isolated. Now, Lavrov gave an amazing UN speech, a General Assembly speech. He said a lot of interesting things during the press conference, the Q&A. I think he spoke for like an hour and 20 minutes just during the press conference alone, plus his speech. I mean, it was a marathon event from the Russian foreign minister. You can actually find the entire UN speech and the press conference. It's on X, it's on Telegram. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube as well. But let me tell you what I thought were some of the interesting points that Lavrov made. Of course, he talked about the multipolar world. He talked about sanctions. And he said that the collective West should remove sanctions from Cuba, from Syria, and from Venezuela. That was an interesting statement from Lavrov. He talked about how the collective West is now trying to start up a conflict with China, and NATO is trying to expand into Asia. That was also an interesting comment. And let me read you some interesting quotes from his speech and press conference. Lavrov said that Zelensky rushes all over the world, asking everyone for money, weapons, attention, and something else. This is not in our rules. We are guided by bare reality. It is such that Zelensky and everyone who leads him in Washington, London, and Brussels unanimously, firmly say that there is no other basis for peace other than Zelensky's formula. And Zelensky's formula is absolutely unrealizable, and everyone knows it. Yeah, the Zelensky formula is a joke. Basically, the Zelensky formula is a Russian capitulation. That is what the Zelensky formula is. So that was an interesting statement from Lavrov. He also said that Putin said it very clearly. Yes, we are ready for talks, but we will not consider any ceasefire proposal because we did so once and were deceived. And Lavrov is referencing the peace deal that they agreed to, Russia and Ukraine agreed to in Istanbul, right? I always get Ankara. I don't know if it was the Ankara peace deal or the Istanbul. I think it was Istanbul that they agreed to at the end of March, early April, that Boris Johnson then sabotaged, and he told Zelensky to tear up the agreement that Ukraine had initialed. And he told Zelensky to tear it up. And he said that Zelensky's not allowed to negotiate with Putin because Putin is a dictator, and that the collective West would give Ukraine all the money and weapons it needs to defeat Russia. And so Zelensky, he tore up the agreement that Ukraine had signed. Look at that lizard. Oh my God, look. It's awesome. So that's what Lavrov is referencing, and he's basically saying there's going to be they're willing to negotiate, but there's going to be no ceasefire because we've already been conned and duped before. We thought we had an agreement. We even pulled out our forces from the areas of Kiev, and I believe in Odessa as well. And you guys, you reneged on your agreement. And so Lavrov is basically echoing what Putin has said over and over again, which is that Russia is always open to negotiations, but not a ceasefire. So that was an interesting quote from Lavrov. He also said that Ukraine's sovereignty was destroyed by those who staged and supported a coup, the leaders of which then declared a war on their own people, referencing the 2014 Maidan coup. And he also said that Western nations openly say that Russia should be defeated on the battlefield. Moscow's should be defeated on the battlefield, adding that Moscow is ready for such a development. Under such circumstances, if they want it to be on the battlefield, let it be on the battlefield. That was one of his most interesting quotes from the UN event. If it's going to be on the battlefield, then so be it. Let it be on the battlefield. And Lavrov said, as Russian President Vladimir Putin put it, the West is now the real empire of lies. So he also borrowed the empire of lies line from Putin. So I thought those were some of the more interesting quotes from the Russian foreign minister. So there's a story from going around now from Russian mainstream media, specifically from RIA Novosti, and they claim that the Russians destroyed 2 Leopard tanks. This I think is accepted, that the Russians did destroy another 2 Leopard tanks. But one of the Leopard tanks that they destroyed, the Russians also captured one of the soldiers in the Leopard tank, and that soldier was speaking German. He was a German soldier, and not a German mercenary, like a German soldier. And so this story is from RIA Novosti. A lot of media is picking up this story, and they're reporting on it. And it's hard to know what to believe, if this is true or not true. Did the Russians actually capture a German soldier, like a professional German soldier in this Leopard tank? If that is the case, then this confirms what I think all of us have kind of been suspicious of since the beginning of this conflict, which is that NATO forces are indeed fighting in this conflict against Russia. You actually have NATO member states' boots on the ground. But even if this is not true, the fact that Russian media is openly discussing it, is openly saying that this happened, I believe is a huge story. Andrei Martyanov, he mentioned this in a video that he put out the other day. He said the fact that RIA Novosti and the Russian mainstream media is reporting that the Russians captured a German professional soldier in this Leopard tank, that's the real story here. I mean, that's the real big story. It means that the Kremlin is telling the media, we want you to report to the Russian people and to the world that NATO, Germany, They have boots on the ground in these Leopard tanks, and they're fighting Russian soldiers. So I think that's a big development. I think that's a really big development. Even if this story is not true, the fact that the Russians are reporting on such a story as being true does not bode well for Germany. Does not bode well at all for Germany. But Germany is trying to buy Russian LNG. So Germany is in a conflict with Russia, a proxy war with Russia. They may even have their own professional soldiers, boots on the ground. Remember, Olaf Scholz said, we will never have German soldiers on the ground in Ukraine. I think Olaf may be lying, but either way, Germany is very much involved in this conflict with Russia, but they are still trying to buy Russian gas. And so we have news that Germany wants to buy Russian gas this winter. The Germans are hoping to conclude a deal with one of Gazprom's branches in order to carefully circumvent anti-Russian sanctions. And the article from union.net says, knife in the back. The German state-owned company has resumed trade in liquefied gas with Russia. And Germany's not alone in their hypocrisy. I find it amazing, if this deal does go through, if this story is indeed true, I find it amazing that Russia is willing to do business with Germany, is willing to provide liquefied natural gas to Germany. I think that's pretty incredible. But Russia's providing fertilizer to Poland. So Poland, they're putting an embargo on Ukraine grain and Ukraine agricultural products, but they are upping their purchase of Russian fertilizer. Poland increased purchases of Russian fertilizer in July by 3.3x. Fertilizers were purchased for 20.2 million. Last year, the volume of purchases in this month was 6.2 million. The top largest partners included Lithuania, Finland, and the Netherlands, with purchases of $13.5, $8.3, and $8.1 million, respectively. Very interesting. The two countries that are probably the most aggressive with Project Ukraine and with waging this proxy war against Russia are the two countries that are trying to or are actually doing business with Russia. And Russia is doing business with them. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff indeed. So Sky News, they reported that the UK is in talks with Russia. London and Moscow held secret talks, according to Sky News. Discussions between the UK and Russia do not include making peace agreements on anyone's behalf, a UK official reportedly said. So this article was reporting that the UK and Russia are talking. They're trying to manage this conflict and trying to make sure that this conflict does not escalate towards World War III, even though the UK is firing Storm Shadow missiles towards Crimea. But the article says that the UK is absolutely not talking about peace during these secret talks. All they're discussing with Russia is how to manage this conflict and to prevent any type of major escalation. And if you believe that, well, I have an empty fountain to sell you. Anyway, the UK could absolutely be trying to put together some sort of negotiations or peace deal or ceasefire while at the same time attacking Russia. Why not? Why not? It's the way the collective West operates. So let's see. Before I get to my clown world, let's walk around a bit. Let's go that way. The European Union, according to Bloomberg, they are ready to open up accession talks with Ukraine. This will happen sometime in 2024. They are going to begin the process of getting Ukraine into the European Union, for which I say great. I'm all for this, by the way. I absolutely support the entry of Ukraine into the European Union, because the faster Ukraine enters the EU, the quicker the EU collapses. So yeah, absolutely. Let's get those accession talks started tomorrow. But you know, the reason that that they want to get accession talks started, the European Union, is because it's going to be a great way. Look at all the cats. Amazing. So many cats. So the reason to get accession talks started with Ukraine is because you can start to divvy up those grants and funds that the EU likes to create for member states. So it's a great way for the kleptocracy of the European Union to make a whole bunch of money. You get Ukraine into the EU, you create some structural funds, some grants, some war funds, slush funds. You create a whole bunch of slush funds. Then you get the EU member states to kick in some money into these slush funds, and then you make money if you're in Brussels, right? That's how it works. That is how it goes. So let's do a clown world now, and let's talk about, well, we have to talk about this incident at the Canadian Parliament. This is the big clown world for the day, of course. So there was a standing ovation for Zelensky, and then there was also a standing ovation in the Canadian Parliament for a 98-year-old Ukrainian Canadian who fought for Ukrainian independence against the Russians in the Second World War. You know, I can't confirm if this 98-year-old guy was a collaborator for the Mustache Man. I think the Associated Press published his photos, and people saw the photos, and it's pretty much undisputed that he was part of a division that was fighting for the Mustache Man and for Bandera. But in this video, I'm going to have to say alleged. But wow, what has become of the world? I wonder if the Canadian Parliament members, I wonder if they understand what's going on. I mean, do you think they know what's happening, or are they just standing up and clapping because everyone else is standing up and applauding? You know what I mean? Do they actually know who these guys are? Do they know what Zelensky is doing? Do they know what side they're on? Do they know allegedly who this 98-year-old guy is or was, what he was doing in World War II? Or are they just applauding because they were told to? I don't know. I don't know. I surely hope, for the sake of the Parliament in Canada, that these Parliament members, they're just kind of following the lead of Trudeau and Freeland. Because if they know what's going on and they know who these guys are and they're still standing up and applauding, well, then that's not a good look. That is not a good look at all. So let's do one more clown world, and this one is great. It is a great clown world. We have a TikTok trend in Poland that is taking place, and this TikTok trend are Polish TikTokers, right? People that are putting up videos on TikTok, and they're just doing everyday things, you know, cooking dinner, brushing their teeth, putting on their makeup, whatever. They're doing just daily tasks. And as they're performing these daily tasks, Zelensky shows up behind them. Now we understand why Duda and Morawiecki and the Law and Justice, why they're starting to take a hard line against Ukraine, because they have an election and they can see that a majority, I believe it's a majority of the population in Poland, whatever they may think of Russia or Putin, however much they hate Russia and Putin, it looks like a majority of the people in Poland are just absolutely done with Project Ukraine, and they're sick of Zelensky begging for money. All right, everybody, that's the video. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, and Rockfin, as well as Twitter, X, and go to the Duran shop. 10% off. Use the code Good Day. Take care.